Hi there, it's Liz Yuille, UK Stampin' Up demonstrator. So today I'm doing one of those, I see a bandwagon so I jump on it moments. String pull art. I'm going to have to cough. Excuse me. So this is my first attempt actually at string pull art. And I thought I would share it with you. Now the first thing I've got to say is I'm really sorry about the lighting. It's, mid-afternoon in June, and here in Oxfordshire we've got heavy rain. It's not as bad as it was, and I'm still going to have to cough. It's not as bad as it was, but it's still really, really dark. So bear with me. Anyway, so I used Brushos for this. Remember the Brushos? They are in the new annual catalogue. So, and this is the stamp from, or one of the stamps from Love What You Do, which is also now available as a non-bundled item in the annual catalogue. So I'm going to have another go at this, and here's the thing. All the videos I've seen use a scrap piece of paper on top. Well, why? This is exactly the same size piece of, this happens to be shimmer white, and I just used that, and you end up with two. So I'm going to do basically the same thing again. The first thing to do is to mix up the ink, and I'm using, as I say, Brushos. I'm using Prussian blue this time, and I'm going to try two-tone. So I'm going to try some yellow, which is rather originally called yellow. Now these are empty embellishment pots, and I'm going to share some things I have learnt whilst doing this. And there are a number of things I have learnt. Firstly, wear gloves. Secondly, use 2 bits of shimmery white card. Thirdly, do not use your lovely aqua painter to mix your inks with, or your paint in this case, because you know what, it goes into the brush and then you have to clean it out, and it takes quite a long time. So by all means use them for the water, but please, 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 please do not use it for the actual mixing. So I'm going to use just my pokey tool. This is a piece of retired baker's twine. There's a difficult word. So I'm just going to use my piercing tool to mix up my yellow first. And I have got some kitchen towel on standby. And then I'll mix up some blue. Now obviously the blue is going to be a lot stronger as a colour than the yellow. So I'm going to start with the blue at the top, and then come into the yellow. I don't want a huge amount of blue, so I'm going to get the blue going, and then I'm going to get it into the yellow. Now probably, here's the thing, probably the thing to do is actually start with wet baker's twine, because that way it will absorb the liquid quicker. Hadn't thought of that until just now, but there's the thing. We learn these things as we go along. So I might need to add some more water. It does absorb quite a lot of liquid. So as you can see, I started out with quite a lot of liquid Brusho in there, and it's pretty close to all being gone. Right, so that's probably going to do nicely, particularly if I just use the end of my piercing tool. Whoops. Try and use the end of my piercing tool to actually run that through. So I am taking some of the ink out, because what I have found is you don't want too much. So I'm going to pop a piece of kitchen towel in the middle, and then clean off that. Clean up my desk a bit as well. Clean up that, and then let's dabble this into the yellow. Now some of the blue is transferring, but that's to be expected. so I'm not too worried about that. But we just need to get as much of the yellow, or now slightly muddy yellow, onto there as possible. You can see why I used my brush, but that's not a good idea. Of course, what I should have done is get out an old paintbrush, but that would be planning, and when did I ever plan? You know me, don't do planning. Planning's boring. It's actually not. It's a really, really good idea, and I really must do more of it. Note to self, do more planning. Right, okay, let's call that ready. And a bit of scrap paper, 2 bits of shimmer white, and I will have the dimensions for this on my blog post, which as ever is below. Now I'm just running this gently through my fingers as I pick it up, and just dabble the end onto the paper towel, and then I'm going to try and keep this mostly in the middle. Don't mind if I have the odd twizzle. Okay, get rid of those and lay my other piece over the top. Really wanted to have gone slightly higher up the piece of paper, but never mind. And then, now you can do this by putting it in a notebook, but these are small enough pieces that it doesn't matter. And then just pull your string out. Now I have no idea what this is going to look like. Yay! How pretty is that? Let's get rid of the now rather nasty piece of baker's twine, and I can also get rid of my gloves, which are probably done for now. Really happy with that. So I'm just going to dab off the worst of the leftover. Yo, that's so pretty! Yay! Right, okay. So my ever trusty cheese board, I think I'll go for that one, and a heat gun. Sorry about the noise. It's so pretty! So in order to dry this out, you kind of want to do top and bottom, as in top and bottom, because that way it is less likely to be terribly curly. You could use watercolour paper for this, in which case you probably want it to be wetter. I have not used ordinary Whisper White yet. I'm not convinced it would be a great idea, but I will give it a go. And if it is successful, I will tell you on my blog post. As ever, that is below in the description bar. So this is the bit that's going to be wettest because it had all of the liquid going through it. Okay, we will call that dry. It's there or thereabouts. Oh, sorry, trying to just hang up my heat tool and it's not doing what it's meant to do, which is always a faff. Let's try that again. There we go. Right, so I'll pop this one to one side to dry properly, and let's finish this card off. So I have prepped, oh yes, generally speaking I wouldn't use Whisper White with Shimmer White because Shimmer White is actually not completely white, but I'm going to put Night of Navy, which now sits in the neutral collection, in between, and I think I will just about get away with it. So here goes. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is tie a piece of ribbon around, and I'm going to use the Night of Navy gingham ribbon. And all I'm going to do, I'll probably use a knot this time rather than a bow. I used the Real Red 1/8 solid ribbon on the previous one. That was in the Autumn Winter catalogue, but it has carried over. So that's always good. So that's been with us for a while now, because as I say, that was Autumn Winter. So I'm just going to tie this in a reef knot. There we go. One reef knot. Oops, a bit of fluff. And then move that to the edge. I don't want it... Oh, and here comes the rain properly again. I was stranded in my craft room earlier, and I should probably have made a dash for it while it was eased off. The rain was so heavy that I honestly could not go outside. And I think we might be heading for another session of that. Right, so I'm just going to trim my ends off so they're in a nice, neat trim. Oh, having them sort of the same length would be good as well. That's better. Right, so that's the Night of Navy, yeah, gingham ribbon. Okay, so you may find that one side of your cardstock is slightly smoother than the other. I like the smooth side. So I'm going to use some liquid adhesive and then hold it down. I'm not going to use a huge amount because less is more with multi-purpose glue. I am going to straighten that ribbon out though, because it is not straight. There we go. And then, because I've cut this so it is the same proportion as the base card, I'm just kind of popping it in the middle, and then I'm going to hold that down from the back and generally flatten it. In fact, what I think I might do is pop it underneath my workboard whilst I do the rest of the card. So I'm going to use still the shimmer white for the stamping, and rather than, in this one I used the rose gold foil, this time I'm going to use silver because it's a better match, and I'm using the Pretty Label Punch, lovely label punch. All the details will be below. So I'm just going to punch that out. And then stamp with Night of Navy ink. I've still got the old style Night of Navy ink. I'm going to not rush to replace my carryover inks because they're just as good, the old inks, as the new. Well, actually, technically they're not, because these ones don't have the defoamer, which the new ones have got. But certainly for the foreseeable future, I'll carry on using these because I've got the ink pad and the re-inker. I'm going to clean this on my lovely new chamois, which you just use water on, and it does a really good job of cleaning. I still love the Stampin' Scrub, but the chamois is good for quick. And just, oops, probably didn't stamp that at the best angle, but never mind, it will do. It will do. So, first thing to do is cut this in half. And then what I do is I just cut off the corners, because otherwise they can poke out at a slightly irritating angle. And I don't like irritating angles. So, bit of snail on the back. And then just pop that. So there's just a little bit round poking out, top and bottom. Like that. Whoops. Then some dimensionals. It was almost as if it was planned. Then bring out my now relatively flat. You see what happens when you just pop something underneath a board for a while?